Sue.
Everyone is standing because we're going to start.
On a few people that I know here. If we could have the all-state members from Liberty North Band come on up here and help us out with the pledge to start the meeting. Thank you. Look at these guys. Which light you can? There you go. Yeah, great.
Right there, good.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, guys. All right. Our next segment is Honoring Excellence, so I'll invite Mr. Ackman to the podium.
Thank you very much. Standing room only here from the DAC tonight. What a big crowd. We moved some of our groups around with our meeting. We held our meeting in December, but we had some, believe it or not, nasty weather, so we had to move some groups around. Some recognitions tonight that took place late last semester, and we wanted to get them in here this evening. Somebody actually told me before the meeting tonight we should have charged admission. I wasn't having any of that, though. No, we would not do that. So I'm going to invite Kim Turner, and is Jennifer Mann here available? Is she here as well? If they could come over here. This was news back early December with the Battle of the Brains. I'll read the brief release. It was an exciting morning at Union Station in downtown Kansas City on Wednesday, December 4th, as the Battle of the Brains finalists were recognized and overall winners announced. As you may recall, LPS had 2 of the 20 finalists in the Metro-wide competition, which was amazing. These included second grade students from Epic Elementary, who we've locked in to be here next month, and then the Peak students who you'll meet tonight from Alexander Donovan, Kellybrook, and Shoal Creek Elementary. We are excited to report that the Peak students representing Donovan, Kellybrook, and Shoal Creek had their project announced that day as the 5th place finisher in the competition, which is an incredibly intense competition with a ton of entries from all over the Metro. They were called to the stage and presented with a $10,000 check to be used for STEM education. We congratulate them we congratulate all of them for this amazing accomplishment. So let's give them a big round of applause. I asked Ms. Turner, I know most of the students are here with us tonight, and I thought she would just introduce them briefly.
Awesome. Have them come up.
Sure.
Okay, so as I call, they're in the back. As I call your name, come on up. All right. And thank you for having us. This is a highlight, and they're really excited to represent their schools. And I also want to make sure we recognize Stephanie Overcast, who's part of our gifted team, and all her hard work. So this is a team effort for sure. So I would like to have Heather Mast come up. Come on up. And Allie Lading, Robert Hines, Jackson Schneiders, Addison Bergquist, Carter Stewart, Liam Stamper, Allie, Gracie Dunn, Caitlin Stiegel, who else do I have? Evan Smith, and Luke Wright. Yeah, these kids worked really, really hard, and I have to just, if I can brag for a second, there were 840 submissions, and so we were so just honored to be in the top 20, and then to make number 5 was just incredible. So they were a no technology proposal, so they really wanted to emphasize backyard science, and the name of their proposal was Backyard Explorers. So it was exciting for them, and I'm super proud of them as their teacher.
Awesome. Let's give them a round. And Ms. Turner, if you guys could stick around as soon as we're done with the recognitions, we'll get a photo, group photo. You guys look great in your t-shirts. And that's actually the second time that they have won in the last 2 competitions back to back. So huge accomplishment for them. Tonight we also wanted to recognize all-state fine arts students, and most, if not all, of these guys are going to be heading down to the Lake of the Ozarks coming up this weekend for the Missouri Music Educators Association Conference to perform down there on most on Saturday, I believe, maybe a few on Friday as well. So what we thought we would do, their directors are with us tonight, and they're going to present each of these all-staters with a certificate as I introduce them. First, from Liberty High School, Jillian Arnold, Charles Cope Morris, Jonathan Fang, Alex Johnson, Blake Johnston, Michaela Johnston, Katie Martin, Reagan Mills, Marcus Myvet, Grant Owen, and Lily Ann Willis. Those are your Blue Jay All-Staters. We also have a trio of Eagles from Liberty North, introducing Jackson Kropp, Jacob Rains, and Aaron Stockman. Thanks for being here. Congratulations to you guys. And some more All-Staters. We have the All-State Sight Reading Bee qualifiers, who include Izzy Bates, Kendall McMullen, and Jake Islis. And also Michaela Johnston included in this group as well. So congratulations to you guys. Awesome job. If you guys could stick around after we do our introductions here this evening, we will get a group photo of you as well, maybe by school. So thanks again. Congratulations. Best of luck to you guys this weekend. Good job. Also, I do not want to forget, do I have, yes, Heritage Middle School is going to be represented at the Lake of the Ozarks this weekend, as they will have a group presenting, and that is Bella Voce, who we saw here in the boardroom just less than a month ago as part of our holiday open house. Their director is with us this weekend, Jennifer Benjamin, and Mr. Broyles here as well. I wanted to present you with an award and give you a congratulations. Good luck this weekend. And stick around for a photo, yes. Coach Moats. Let's not forget this group. This is maybe one of our biggest and best honoring excellence in a long, long time. This goes back, again, to first semester. Again, this is kind of that placeholder we put on the calendar each year. As the Liberty High School varsity cheerleaders, they competed in the Missouri State Cheer Competition earlier last semester in St. Charles, Missouri. The cheerleaders took first place in the 5A large varsity division. This is the program's 11th state title under head coach Brenda Moats. They qualified for state in October, placing first at the Kansas City Regional Competition in the Class 5A large division. The 26-member team consists of 9 freshmen, 5 sophomores, 9 juniors, and only 3 seniors. So a pretty youthful group, and one I'm sure that more good things are coming in the years to come. So again, they are coached by Brenda Moats, assisted by Daisy King and Belinda Ambrose. I will introduce their coach. I believe she's going to introduce her trio of seniors here tonight and share a remark or two.
Thank you. Well, Dallas said I had lots of time tonight at the podium and to speak as long as I wanted to, that you had nothing else happening. So with that, we'll introduce all 26 young ladies. I'm just kidding. It's fine. I got your message. I do have 3 outstanding seniors I did want to introduce. Carrington Kuderna has been a 4-year member of our varsity team. Mary Barnes has been a 2-year member, and Fatima Curiel has been a 2-year member as well. We are very, very grateful for their leadership and proud of them, and we'll miss them greatly next year as well. Thank you again for giving us this opportunity. I know I say it every year, but it does not get easier, I promise. And we were very surprised at this one. There's a great video of us, and you'll see us kind of all fall to the ground, as we really didn't think that this one was going to happen. So it wasn't a perfect routine, but it was a great group of kids, and I couldn't ask for a better team that we have made up this year. Thank you again for honoring us.
We will get a photo of you guys as well. And then Nationals coming up?
We took the year off from Nationals this year.
Okay.
We did not go to a qualifier or anything. We decided that last March before tryouts. So next year.
Perfect. Mr. Rothman?
Absolutely. As is our tradition here in the boardroom, we like to honor our state champions with a standing ovation, and I would also say that this would be shared with our all-state fine arts winners that are here with us tonight. So if everyone would join me in giving a standing ovation to our state champions.
Fantastic. And to close Honoring Excellence tonight, we are joined by Dr. Lori Hopkins, who is the Regional Director for Cognia. She has a presentation for Liberty Public Schools.
First of all, while I get set up, I want you to know that I do not live in Missouri, but I sat on the couch on Sunday and cheered on. Smart move. All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to begin by thanking Dr. Jeremy Tucker and the Liberty Public Schools Board of Education for allowing me the opportunity to be here this evening and speak to you and present to you an award. Additionally, I would like to thank Dr. Wes Ball and the administrative team for their wonderful hospitality. Thank you so much. A respected educational leader who served on Liberty Public Schools Engagement Review submitted a recommendation for the Values Driven Award, nominating your school district. The Values Driven Award recognizes institutions who systematically and systemically model Cognia's values through their day-to-day efforts to improve outcomes for students. These values include dreaming big, standing for the learner, being bold and daring, driving potential, being tenacious, and building connections. I would like to take this opportunity to read the recommendation. The Liberty School District embraces innovation and risk-taking from the school perspective, staff perspective, and student perspective. The central office administration and building leaders embrace the staff's interest to develop new programs and implement new strategies without fear of failure. Examples include educational opportunities such as taking courses without having completed traditional prerequisites, numerous project-based learning experiences, blending the arts and creative pedagogical learning approaches with core education, and the influence of maker spaces in schools throughout the district. The instructional staff is allowed to dream big in their approach to meeting their students' need to succeed while they forge quality relationships. When discussing risk-taking with the staff, failure was mentioned several times as a healthy expectation for all in the learning process, most especially students and staff. And while developing programs and implementing strategies to improve learner performance, the instructional staff has the full support of district leadership. Because of their focus, the school district has established several new programs in schools that have eventually expanded and thus implemented in other schools. In essence, the district has many innovators who share best practice and successes that are replicated. This culture of innovation and learning occurs naturally because the leadership allows and supports the staff's efforts to try new approaches. Finally, the Liberty School District is highly focused on improving student learning, and they truly exemplify a learning institution so that everyone in the district, students, staff, leaders, can develop to their full potential. Continuous improvement is on display every day in every way in the Liberty School District. On behalf of Cognia, formerly Advanced Ed Measure Progress, I would like to present the Values Driven Award to the Liberty Public Schools Board of Education and Superintendent Jeremy Tucker.
And with that, that concludes Honoring Excellence for this evening. Thanks again for everyone being here.
Thank you, Alice. We're not going to get any calls from you tomorrow, are we?
Don't answer.
We've got a little housekeeping to do, but then we'll be taking a break so that the board can come out and individually meet and congratulate our honorees. And during the break, if you want to address the board during public comment, when we come back from break, there's blue cards on the table outside that door. Fill those out, give it to Dr. Tucker, one of the board members. But before we get to our break, we've got 2.03, approval of agenda.
I move the board approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Discussion, roll call, please.
AJ,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Angie,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes.
Kim Marie,
Yes.
Andy.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. We will come back in, there's so many honorees. Let's give 10 minutes. We'll come back in 10 minutes.
A whole 10 minutes. Thanks, Andy.
Yeah, I think we need to just be done, because that was it.
All right.
Nowhere to go from.
We don't need a calendar.
Students can now move closer to the point that you're in.
Thought they were here for me.
You guys can move up if you want. You don't mind. You can hear better. if you're
I think they're like, yeah, we're good right where we're at. All right, we are back. And I see no cards for public comment, so we will carry on with the agenda. We are at the consent agenda. Our adopted rules of parliamentary procedure, Robert's rules, provide for a consent agenda listing several items for approval of the board by a single motion. Documentation concerning these items has been provided to all board members and the public in advance to assure an extensive and thorough review. Items may be removed from the consent agenda at the request of any board member. Do we have a motion?
I move the board approve consent agenda items 3.01 through 3.06.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
AJ,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Angie,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes.
Kim Marie,
Yes.
Andy.
Yes.
Motion carries.
And that takes us to reports from administration. Dr. Tucker?
Thank you. First off, academic services. I'll turn it over to Dr. Heidi for any updates that she has.
Good evening. There were so many people now, I don't even know what to do. They said to move the mic closer. I think I could have had it far away, actually. Today you'll see some program evaluations, and I just wanted to do a huge shout out to Christopher Hand, Jeanette Westfall, and Julie Moore, the three that you'll find in your update. Christopher Hand, of course, does assessment, curriculum and instruction, Jeanette Westfall, and educational internship program. All of these have undergone some pretty extensive changes this year, and we're not done trying to innovate and think about how to better serve kids and make a difference by what we do, whether it be through our curriculum or programs past graduation or internships while they're in school, and even assessment. How can we utilize assessment to really identify where kids are at and move them? So just huge shout out for them and their work in leading that process. You'll also see, which I find is so interesting, thinking about real world learning opportunities for elementary students. And so Dr. Andrea Dixon Seahorn really wrapped herself around the elementary school leaders and went to search for some real world learning opportunities that they were having. This by no means says everything that is happening in the elementary world, but pretty exciting to see each year that growth with real world learning and how their learning impacts. This is why I don't keep this close to me. How their learning impacts the real world and what they're doing. Finally, I also wanted to bring up the Children's Service Fund. Dr. Jessica Meisenheimer works with Clay County and the Children's Service Fund. There was just a huge win last week. She had the opportunity to present to the board about conscious discipline. They were so excited about it that they said, why don't we just fund the entire thing? So we said, of course, that'd be fantastic. And so we will host conscious discipline training here. They will help us with those seats and pay for the seats, but not only us, for the entire Northland schools that are a part of that conscious discipline fund. And so now it's working with conscious discipline because we have a bit overloaded them. And so we may have to figure that out logistically. Do we have several times throughout the year that training occurs, or can we actually get done what we hope to get done all in one session? So that's my report for this evening. Thank you for your support as always. Please, I'd love to entertain any questions you have.
I don't have a question, but I do want to pass on that I had heard about the Children's Fund and the presentation and some very complimentary words. If you can pass those on. And
I will,
she
absolutely.
knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
I need to hire her to negotiate for me. Not easy to go into something and get more than you asked for.
Well, she was funny. When she came back, she was dancing down the hallway. So, you know, it was like winning the lottery.
She did a
Pretty
great job.
exciting.
No doubt. Other questions? Okay. Thank you, Dr. Heidi.
Thank you.
Next up, 4.02, our finance report, Ms. Sydney Sullivan.
Thank you, Dr. Tucker, and good evening. Tonight, we have 2 donations to recognize. A monetary donation from Mike Titus Construction made to Liberty North High School Men's Wrestling in the amount of $500 to be used for meals and warm-ups, and a monetary donation from Liberty Rotary made to the Library Media Department in the amount of $3,000 to be used for Rotary Readers program to provide books to students at Lillian Schumacher, Manor Hill, and Ridgeview. We would like to thank both of them for their kindness and generosity to these programs. I have one thing I wanted to point out to you in my report this evening that I wanted to highlight. The graph under operating funds, you will note that we are significantly, to the tune of about $4 million, slower in receipt of revenue than we were this time last year. And that is strictly a timing difference. The taxes collected in November that were paid out in December were $4 million slower this year than last year. We did recoup that in the January payment, so we are getting the revenue that we expected, and Shirley just accounts for the time that people paid their taxes. So I know that looks vastly different than what it did last year, and it hasn't looked this low since 2017, but it came back in January, so you'll see it spike up again next month when you see this. Audit and Finance Committee did review the financial statements and did not have anything to pass on to you, and they will meet in March for a live meeting, but we'll review the statements again next month. That's all I have, unless you have any questions for me.
Questions of Cindy? Again, entering into budget development season, so we'll continue to bring updates forward as we look at revenues, expenditures, and then a preliminary budget later this semester for your consideration to finalize that at our June meeting. So appreciate Cindy, as well as all principals and directors that oversee a budget, and that this is really kind of that busy season for them. So questions of Cindy? Okay. Next up then, 4.03, Dr. Vogelaar, Human Resources.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to talk tonight about our staffing. This is our annual staffing report. We've uploaded on board docs information on a program evaluation for HR, and then a more complete staffing report that includes all of our exempt and non-exempt staffing data. For tonight, I'm going to tease out of that just a few of the slides that deal specifically with our certificated staff. Specifically, we're going to look at the new class that we hired last spring, who are in their first year with Liberty Public Schools. We're going to take a look at the trends that we experience with regard to applications, and then some of the work that we're doing to try to change some of the concerning elements that we're seeing in that trend data. So first of all, I want to pull out information regarding our new hires. So these are people who are in classrooms this year that we hired during the last hiring season, and then how they compare to our trend over time. You see that those with 6 or more years of experience have increased over the last couple of decades. As a slice of the pie of those new hires, back in 2004, 2005, 12.6% of our new hire class had 6 or more years of experience, and that's increased to 45.8, just under 50%. While those with 0 to 5 years of experience have dwindled. You see 87.4% in the 04-05 school year. This past hiring season, just above the majority, 54% had 0 to 5 years of experience. And then those with no experience specifically, as a slice of that pie, has dwindled significantly over the years. 40.7% of the new class of hires were right out of college in the 03-04 school year. This last year, 28.1% were fresh out of college, and that's been on a downward downward trend since the 15-16 school year, pretty steady trend. When we see this data, of course, one of the things we ask ourselves is why are we seeing the data, not just in our new hire class, but also in our applicant class. So here's a snapshot of trend over time for total exempt applications that we see in the district. Last year we had 1,931 applicants who vied for those 100 or so spots that we filled. It's been on a steady decline. You see 2010, 2011, 11, 12 school years significantly higher. That was more because of the economic issues that the country was facing than necessarily an upsurge in those people interested in teaching as a profession. If you took out that economic decline, that Great Recession, you'd see a pretty steady pace of applications vying for positions in Liberty Public School. Then if you look at just the exempt applications for our secondary slice of the pie, these are our non-elementary jobs, about just under 1,500 for this last hiring class, and that's, again, it's been pretty steady over time. The nice thing is, one thing that's been predictable year after year is our access to that quantity, even though that quantity is slowly trending downward, comes very predictably at the same times of the year. So our hiring season is right now. That's why we have that early notification incentive, so we can get at the applicant pool as early as possible. This data comes from Gallup. They gather this data for us and share it, and you see that really February, March are two of our peak months for the largest quantity of that data, and the quality of the data is also depicted in this slide. So orange is all of the applicants who applied for Liberty Public Schools teaching positions that outperformed the national mean on the Gallup interview that we take. There's about 250,000 teachers nationwide that take that, and our largest quantity of people who outperform the national average come in February, March, and April. The top quartile are those who perform in the top 25%. You also see the largest quantity available during that same peak season. Even though the largest quantity of access of applicants exists for us in January, February, March, April, the good news is Liberty Public Schools consistently draws high quality talent no matter what month we're in. This piece of data looks specifically at those applicants, not by quantity but by quality, that outperform the national mean. Of course, if we were an average school system, you'd see about 50% of our applicants outperforming the mean. We tend to have in the upper 50s to 60% outperforming the mean. And of course, the top 25, if we were an average district, 25% of our applicants that apply for positions would be in that top quartile. And we're seeing trending in the 30s, 40s, and even this last August of 2019, we had 50% of the applicants that applied outperform the top quartile. So even though our access to these applicants really peak in February and March, the quality of our applicants exists throughout. And that's important to note because we do have late hires. There's occasional teachers that request to be released from their contract in the summer months, or we have some class sizes. We monitor class sizes all throughout the summer, and occasionally have to hire based on those class sizes. And so it's nice to know that our quality of applicants stays strong throughout the process. Now, I will say this is not just a Liberty Public Schools issue. This dwindling pipeline of people choosing education as a career is a nationwide trend. This data is national data over several decades of graduating seniors who are asked in a survey to express interest in teaching as a profession. And you see in the 70s, early 70s at its peak, 13.2% of kids graduating from high school were saying, I want to be a teacher. That dwindled slowly down, and in 1983, if you know your history, A Nation at Risk was published. This was a national study that really talked about concerns that existed in the education profession, and it was really around A Nation at Risk that the paradigm shift in our profession turned from teaching as a job to teaching as a profession. Emphasis on professional development emerged, and you saw the prestige of education start to kind of tail up from the 80s to the late 90s. More and more graduating seniors were indicating an interest in choosing education as a profession. That peaked in the late 90s at 11.1, and that's right around the time when the standards movement started, No Child Left Behind began, and we've seen a steady decline in interest among our graduating seniors to choose education as a profession nationally. The data right now is under 5% of our graduating seniors are saying this is a profession I want to be a part of. So it's very much a national trend. That means that school districts like ours can't affect the national trend, but we can affect the trend right here in Liberty Public Schools. And more of our neighboring school districts around the country are also focusing on Grow Your Own initiatives to try to affect that. And so we've begun to survey students based on their interest in becoming a teacher down the road, and then designing programs that fan those flames. So last spring we did a survey of students grades 9 through 12. I pulled out of that data grades 10 through 12. So the seniors obviously graduated in 2019 and fell off. So this is current 10th graders through 12th graders indicating an interest in becoming a teacher. Liberty High School versus Liberty North. And you see that those definitely interested are smaller than those who are somewhat considering, and that makes sense, turning that corner. What makes this data make sense, however, is to compare it year over year. So we've done this survey 2 years in a row. Dr. Moore is just launching this survey right now in our high schools. We'll get the 2020 data here shortly. But you see that there has been an uptick in the percent of students at Liberty High School and Liberty North between 2018 and 2019 expressing interest in all of those categories across the board. In fact, total Liberty High School jumped from 18.7% interested in some degree of interest in education to 22.3%. And Liberty North, 22.1% last year, jumped to 28.8%. What I think is attributing to this is the work that Melissa Taylor is doing with our EIP program, the work that Andrea Dixon Seahorn, that Dee Rosecrans are leading with our Grow Your Own initiative. This work not just to identify these students, but even market our profession to kids, calling on our teachers more and more to mentor kids toward our profession is beginning to make a difference. They're doing some very exciting things in that regard, and I see this needle starting to turn for Liberty Public Schools. Now this is important to focus on because the number of students that graduate, choose education as a profession, and put out applications for jobs, the number that put them back out in their home district is significantly higher than anywhere else. In fact, statistically, nationwide, kids that graduate, become teachers, put applications back in the school system they graduated from. That's just a trend. So when you grow your own, you're really investing in your own future profession right here. That's good news for us because our students who graduate from Liberty Public Schools consistently outperform the national mean in comparison to other grads who go back to their school districts nationally. So this shows the percent that outperform the mean. Of course, if we were an average school system, we'd be at 50% outperforming the mean, right? Last year we were at 64%. And other students who graduate, become educators, and then go and apply in their home districts, 60% of those students are outperforming the national mean on the Gallup assessment. So this is good news. It shows that our focus on growing our own is an important focus to have, and it's also paying off for us. And so I want to spend a little bit of time highlighting just one of our very own. Last year, as you know, you approved the opportunity to sponsor 4 students who graduated who will come back 4 years from now and teach in Liberty Public Schools. Whitley Patonki is one of those students. They can go to any college of their choosing. We have one that went to the University of Kentucky, one that went to Graceland in Iowa, so they're all kind of spread out. Whitley's right here. She's finishing up her associate's level coursework at Maple Woods, and then she's going to transfer to Park, major in elementary education, and then come back and join our team here. We're very excited about that because she is truly the face of Liberty Public Schools. She's been a product of this system, K through 12, kindergarten through 5th grade at Liberty Oaks Elementary. She attended middle school at South Valley and graduated just last year from Liberty North High School. I've asked her to come and share a few words with you about how really it's her sophomore year, it's her first year, but she went in with so many dual credit courses that she's going in as a sophomore, to come and share a little bit about her experience and her plans to come back and join us. Whitley?
Thank you. So I just want to thank everyone who was involved in making this scholarship happen in the first place. Speaking on behalf of myself and all the other recipients of this scholarship, we're just really grateful for this opportunity to be able to come back and teach for the district that we grew up in. As he said, I'm currently in my second year at Maple Woods Community College, and I'll be transferring to Park University this time next year, where I'll be studying elementary education. I'm planning on teaching kindergarten or first grade, so I'm excited to do that here. It truly does mean a lot to me to come and teach to Liberty. First reason, everyone wants to come back and teach at Liberty. It's one of the prime districts in this area, so a lot of people I talk to now are really surprised that I have this opportunity to do that. Second, I grew up in this area and I've gone through Liberty Public Schools, K through 12, so I have a lot of memories and a lot of people who impacted me, so it'll be really cool to be able to teach alongside of them. Teachers like Alexis Bodenstab and Katie Mitchell were people who really impacted my teaching career and made me want to be the teachers that they are, so it'll be really awesome to be able to have them just close by so I can lean on them whenever I need. And then lastly, it just shows me how invested Liberty Public Schools is in just the lives of the minority students and giving them unique opportunities like the Grow Your Own Teacher program. So I'm just really honored and I'm really grateful for that. So thank you.
Whitley, thank you. This was a grand experiment when Mr. Rosecrans and Dr. Dixon Seymour and I started envisioning this work, and the board may have some questions for you. They've made a very visible commitment, obviously, to see this program work and be successful. Do you have any questions for Whitley?
What area are you looking at? What area? You said elementary education. Is there specific subjects that you're interested in? Are you definitely set on elementary?
Primary or upper?
Yeah, I'm definitely set on the younger kids, probably. I'm thinking kindergarten for sure, but I would like to explore first grade, so.
Very good question.
What made you decide to go into that, being a retired teacher, if you don't like them, you need to figure out where your niche is. How did you figure that out?
I initially wanted to teach 4th grade, and I did EIP, and Melissa Taylor put me with kindergarten. I was very surprised, but I fell in love with it, and I could tell that's where I was supposed to be. I fit really well with those kids. So.
Good move on your
Good. Any other questions? One of the conversations that I had at the beginning here is just what is it like as you're building relationships with your college students, and you're all majoring in education, you're having these plans, when it comes up that you have already have a job. A lot of folks are like, I hope at the end of this degree I land a position, and you get a chance to talk about that. So talk about what that professional jealousy is like.
There's a lot of that goes around. I know a lot of my friends want to be teachers, and all of them want to come here to Liberty, and they're just really surprised that something like this, of this magnitude, is created, and I'm able to be a part of that. So.
Willie, I'm curious. So it sounds like you've got some dual credit that got you running START. Is that going to allow you to finish sooner than 4 years, or will you need to go 4 years to make everything?
I should still be going on the 4-year track. I'm just a semester ahead of the other 3, just because I graduated that semester.
Okay, because you had graduated from high school.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And really, had education kind of always been your objective for a career standpoint?
Yeah. When did that light bulb moment occur for you?
It was probably freshman year. I've always wanted to be around kids and everything. I thought I wanted to do pediatric nursing or something like that, but I realized that wasn't for me, and teaching just seemed very clear to me. So I've been stuck on that.
Well, in the state of Missouri, if you want to teach kindergarten, you have to hold an early childhood certificate that's birth to 3rd grade, and then elementary is a different certificate for whatever reason, 1st through 6th. Will you just get the early childhood, or will you get early childhood and elementary? Yeah, so you'll be versatile enough to do any of the grades. Good, very good.
Any interest in special education?
I mean, honestly, a little bit.
Yeah, our regular ed elementary teachers more and more have expertise in special ed as well. It's just such a big part.
Field.
It's a big part of their world. So. Well, thank you, Whitley, very much for coming and sharing a little bit with the board. I know that if they're making a big investment in this, it's important for them to see that it's successful. So thanks for sharing your story. Yeah.
Thank you, Whitley.
I will say that, I lost my slides here. I will say that this effort is so much bigger than just one department or one individual within a department. Moving the needle on inspiring a future generation of people to want to become educators, it has to be a passion and a vision for a lot of people. I mentioned Melissa Taylor. I commend her for her work, her tireless work, her inventive thinking. She comes to the table and brainstorms. She and Dr. Moore specifically have been working on an educator academy to really start targeting kids in their freshman year who have an interest in education and exposing them to coursework that could result in them walking away with as many as 9 hours in major in a college of their choosing for dual credit. So there's lots of change on the horizon. I put on a slide here expanding efforts on Grow Your Own. This is a team effort. The passion, I've mentioned Dr. Dixon Seahorn too. You know this, many people may not know this. She was a consultant for the entire state of Missouri specifically on Grow Your Own. We have an opportunity to have her here in LPS and tap into that expertise. This needle moves in large part because of her passion and vision for this as well. Dee has co-chaired the Grow Your Own work with her. He is my chief recruiter, a significant part of the reason that we see this needle move, and so I can't but thank him as well. They lead a steering committee of teachers and administrators in many of our buildings to move this needle, so I appreciate their work as well. We will continue to expand this. Right now, our Grow Your Own recipients can choose any college they want. Our vision is to say, here's a list of schools. You can go anywhere you want, but if you choose one of these partner school districts, they'll match that support or they'll expand that support. I know one college or university has already contacted us about full rides specifically for students who might come from our school system, go to their college or university and major in education. So that needle is moving. I think that's a big part of the success of a Grow Your Own program, and that's the work ahead. These elements that are on this slide specifically flow out of our strategic plan and the action plans that we have right now in that plan on expanding the Grow Your Own initiative. Obviously, there's a lot to staffing. The data that's uploaded to board docs includes way more than just Grow Your Own or our new teachers or our hiring season. So if you have any questions about any of it, I'll be glad to take that now.
What is it on the very bottom bullet? What is it that's being done with targeting existing support employees?
Yeah, thank you. That's in partnership with Teach KC and the Kauffman Center. They actually have alternative certification programs and scholarships for students like paraprofessionals that want to go into education. It's not just paraprofessionals, but that's your largest slice of the pie of interest. So nurses that want to go in the classroom, custodians that want to go in the classroom, they may have a traditional bachelor's degree but not in education, and then there's alternative certification programs to do that. And so Teach KC launches lots of marketing materials and then works with these cooperating colleges and universities to create these scholarship opportunities for staff. So we're going to turn the corner on that as well. In addition, we're in talks right now with partner colleges about degrees that can be entirely hosted right here in our community that employees can be a part of. And basically in their own backyard walk out with a master's degree in education. So we're involved in those talks as well. Good.
Other questions of Dr. Vogelaar?
Thank you.
Thank you for being here and sharing that report. More importantly, Whitley, awesome job. So appreciate you and best of luck. We look forward to you coming back around. So, next up this evening is our operations report 4.04. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you. It's a hard act to follow, especially when you lead off with influenza trends in the region. And I did just want to highlight that more than anything to show that that we are kind of keeping an eye on that, and really to emphasize that our health services folks work very, very closely with our custodial staff and team just to make sure we're really aggressive, kind of making our classrooms as safe and healthy as they can be. So I just wanted to point that out, and there's some good data in there that Kathy Ellermeyer included. Also, I did want to highlight Jason Bright and his team. with the warehouse crew over break while most of us were off. They were really busy up at Liberty North getting that space ready for the start of school, and just really appreciate all the work they did to get that space ready, working hand in hand with the construction crews and so forth. And so that space did open on time. We've had a couple little glitches or hiccups along the way, but everybody's safe and learning, and kind of happy to get that one in the books. And then real quick on the PAC over at Liberty High, that project again is on schedule, and we expect that that'll be complete here early August. Again, I think we mentioned this last time. We plan on doing a tour for the board ahead of next month's meeting, so we'll send a notification out in advance of that. Also, I did want to highlight earlier on in the agenda under consent, you all considered a bid tab for demographic enrollment projection services. And so the recommendation there is to go with applied economics. And we've used them in the past several times. And so we are now kind of fine-tuning the contract, and we'll bring that forward to you next month for consideration. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Anderson?
The open house at North, is that tomorrow?
Tomorrow, isn't it?
Tomorrow, correct.
Yep.
Thank you. Is it at 5?
I believe it's at 4 o'clock.
4:30.
Is that right? 4:30?
4:30 to
4:30?
4:30.
To 6. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else? Thanks for your report. Under the superintendent's report this evening, wanted to add a couple of pieces. As you all are aware, last week Governor Parsons held the State of the State address, and education was among the topics covered. And just to kind of highlight some of his comments that were shared, looking at emphasizing expansion of early childhood education, in particular by leveraging with state funding some additional grant opportunities that are available to the state of Missouri by way of federal dollars. Reinforcing what he started with whenever he replaced Governor Greitens, and that was commenting and prioritizing workforce development across our state. And so we're in the thick of that as it relates to real-world learning opportunities and preparing kids for their futures. Expansion of virtual course access, and increased funding in the areas of Bright Flight scholarships, A+ funding, foundation formula funding, as well as transportation funding. And then the other area that was emphasized without really a proposal or solution just yet, but was in and around teacher pay and how to be able to move Missouri's standing among the states in terms of our national ranking as it relates to teacher salaries and teacher pay. With that in mind, really leaning on school districts and boards of education to help chart a course forward for the state of Missouri as to what our options might be in trying to move Missouri's status among the states. Shifting slightly over to the other bodies of government in Jefferson City, the legislative session is well underway, albeit we're kind of easing into things. As things pick up over the course of the next several weeks, we'll have additional reports to bring forward. A couple of bills that we've already started seeing gain some traction are under the umbrella of special education. Two bills to keep on your radar is House Bill 1540, which allows parents to record IEP in 504 meetings. So we'll be watching some of that as it progresses through committee structure. The other one is House Bill 1568, which has to deal with behavioral interventions. Again, just kind of getting going with the legislative session, but we'll be able to provide additional items as it relates to education and progress over the course of this legislative session. On the local front, related to board candidate filing, appreciate Sandra for making herself available during the season of board candidate filing, and that window closed earlier this afternoon as of 5 p.m. This year, as you know, we had 3 positions that would likely have appeared on the April ballot, albeit we only had 3 people sign up. And so those were our 3 incumbents that signed up for those 3 seats, so consequently we'll not have to have an election come April. Those incumbents are A.J. Bird, Kimmery Graham, Angie Reed, so congratulations to you all. We will, however, in the month of April, go through that annual process of reorganizing the board, electing officers, so stay tuned for that. And again, congratulations to those 3 incumbents. Additional items that were included in my report, just to tease out, we have increased our number of presentations tied to our strategic plan efforts. So I appreciate Dr. Kurth and Dr. Adams for setting up an opportunity through Parent University to be able to share our strategic plan with over 100 parents that attended at our January Parent University. In addition, we're able to provide presentations to the Northland Education Business Alliance and are in the process of scheduling a variety of civic groups over the course of this spring semester to be able to give them an update on our work around strategic planning. At the DESE level, we have gone through a process of providing feedback for MSIP version number 6. We had a window of feedback back in August, submitted some comments then. They opened up a second window to be able to provide feedback, so in collaboration with area school districts in the region, but then also across the state. A couple of key themes that have bubbled up, the first of which is in respect to counselor to student ratios and how that is derived. A second common theme has to do with teacher plan or preparation time and how that gets folded into MSIP 6, with hopefully a focus on not diminishing teacher plan or prep time, but instead either maintaining or increasing that. We'll see how that plays out. And then the last category would be in and around how we identify success-ready graduates and the criteria that folds into that description. So again, appreciate the feedback from our district, the region, but then also at the state level in engaging with a variety of education associations. The last piece that I would share would actually two pieces. The first of which is within our district leadership team, we've been exploring options on how to expand engagement and trying to think through that differently as we think about two-way communication, not only pushing information out to students and parents and community members, but then also how do we solicit ideas and hear the voices of our students, but then also the voices of our community through a variety of engagement efforts. So we'll be talking about that over the course of the next couple of months and how we can do that, not only within the schoolhouse or at the school level, but then also across all of our departments within the district. The last item that I wanted to share was just kind of a format update as we think of goals for this calendar year. In terms of our areas of focus, you might see a little bit of a shift in how we report out those areas tied to our strategic plan. But then under the categories of our vivid vision, our graduate profile, strategic plan, the areas of teaching and learning, our education system, in collaboration with families and stakeholders. Couple that with what we talked about at our study session and how we rethink program evaluation. We want to ensure that that flow of information is making its way to the board table as it relates to our strategic plan work. So be looking for those adjustments over the course of the next couple months. With that, would open it up for any questions of the board.
No questions? Then we will.
I guess I had a question. I'm not sure if it was Human Resources reports or who answers it, but in terms of the table that shows the by grade and by building the number of students, is the full ECC number of 39 the new program that was launched this fall, and then the rest of the ECC is the line below that? Okay.
And that gets updated. Kelly Sawyer pulls that straight out of Power School. So that's divided up in Power School.
Okay. Okay.
And then a year from now, you'll see phase 2 of that as we continue to increase seats.
We had planned to start with 2 classrooms and then add 2 more.
So we started with about 40 seats, and then we're looking to expand that or double that, and that's all contingent on those 4% funds that we talked about last year, gearing up for this academic year. So anything to add to that, Dr. Dixon-Seaborn? Okay. Other questions?
Thanks.
All right. We'll move on to unfinished business, 5.01, board policy revisions. We've got, looks like one policy to take action on.
You do. You have one policy, JGGA, on seclusion, isolation, and restraint, that includes some minor changes just to reflect and be more aligned with law as far as statutory requirements.
Any questions on that? We're ready for a motion if no questions.
I move the board adopt policy JGGA.
Second.
Discussion on the motion. Roll call, please.
AJ?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Angie?
Yes.
Nick?
Yes.
Kim Marie?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Brings us to 5.02, the 2021 academic calendar. Dr. Tucker.
You might have noticed earlier in our meeting that we did not have a calendar hearing, which is no longer required in accordance with statutory changes that pushed our start date deeper into the month of August, no longer requiring us to have a meeting 10 days prior to Labor Day in order to set the calendar. With that said, we've spent a considerable amount of time over the course of the fall and up to even today looking at the calendar, its implications. We, over the course of this last year, have been straddling really two sets of requirements in accordance with statute. The current FY19 calendar, but then also, or sorry, FY20 calendar, but then also the FY21 calendar. So we'll talk through a little bit of that. In looking at the highlights from the LPS academic calendar that are in front of you for your consideration this evening, the first day of school being Tuesday, August 25th. Fast forward into winter vacation, starting winter vacation, and that lasting from 12/21 to January 1st to 1/1. Teacher workday on January 4th, with students returning the following day. In respect to spring break, school being closed on March 15th through 19th, and then the last day of school being May 28th. In regard to the end of the first semester, in particular for high school students, knowing that finals play a part to that, along with end-of-course exams, ending the first semester, and finals and assessments prior to embarking on winter vacation. That was a big discussion that we had, an implication for secondary programs, high school in particular. In addition to high school finals, concern in and around students that are involved in external programs, be it middle college, be it Northland CAPS, be it KC Tech Academy, our career centers and the like. Many of those programs are aligning with a similar end of semester prior to winter vacation. And so we've worked with our surrounding districts in working to try to coordinate that. There are a couple of districts that we've talked with whose first semester will not end until middle of January, January 8th, January 15th. So in the event that we share some students, there will be some troubleshooting there in and around some of those program offerings. Something that you will not see reflected on the calendar, however, is what happens behind the scenes in terms of our reporting of minutes and hours to the state of Missouri, and a little more flexibility in and around makeup days. One of the things that is unique about next year is that the minimum requirement remains the same of 1044 hours that are required as kind of a baseline for the state of Missouri. What ends up happening, though, as buildings exceed that 1044-hour requirement, they're receiving no additional funding. So even if you have 1,104 hours, as long as you meet the minimum 1044, you receive the same equivalent ADA funding. So what that does for us, because we've always exceeded the 1,100 or the 1044 minimum, is that allows us to be a little bit creative in how we trap hours and report them accordingly. So with the statutory change for next year, you have to report a minimum of 36 hours of inclement weather makeup, because our schools already exceed that 1044, well above that 1044. That is folded into how we report our overall hours by building. And so what you see at the bottom, and the reason I mention that, is you'll see fewer days captured on inclement weather makeup. So you have makeup days of February 15th and April 2nd slotted there. And then knowing that we've put in place for this year that pilot to make up flexible learning days, continuing that next year, but then doing that more frequently as it relates to inclement weather makeup. The only caveat being is that we can never fall below that 1044. In the event that there are significant inclement weather days across the state and some degree of forgiveness occurs, what happens at the DESE level, and they've done this prior to this year and next year, is they end up kind of dialing back the 1044. And so whatever that may look like as days are forgiven, even at the state level, you still have to meet that requirement. So there's a little bit of an ebb and flow as we monitor what's going on with DESE. From that calendar, look at the EPIC calendar, and that we want to mention that as well. And to give you some highlights there, the first day of school for EPIC elementary students and staff would be August 11th. Fast forward to their winter vacation coinciding with the districts of December 21st through January 1st, a teacher workday on January 4th, lining up with our spring break as a district, March 15th through 19th, and then their tentative last day of school would be on June 11th. And similarly, capturing the makeup days below as was listed on our LPS academic calendar. Last thing I would want to share is a tremendous thank you to Team Liberty, Dr. Vogelaar, Cindy Sullivan, and others that work on multiple scenarios. Sandra helps craft those as well and have some pretty good conversations in and around what we want to do in bringing a recommendation to the board. Dr. Vogelaar, anything else that you would add from the conversations from Team Liberty?
No, you covered it. Obviously, there's just significant spider web of impact with this, and all of that is taken into account. Everything research by you. So.
Yeah. The only thing I would tie it back to, in speaking about the legislative session, we will likely see the calendar come up in conversations in the legislative session. Whether that is adjusted or shifts that local control back to the school district in and around start date, time will tell. But anything that might change would not take effect during the 2021 school year. It would likely be for the 2021-2022 academic school year. So with that, turn it over to you.
All right. I move the board approve the 2020 through 2021 academic calendar and EPIC elementary school calendar.
Second. Discussion on the motion. Roll call, please.
AJ?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Angie?
Yes.
Nick?
Yes.
Kim Marie?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Brings us to 5.03, debt management.
At our January study session, we welcomed Joe Kender from Stiefel, formerly with George K. Baum. But after that merger to Stiefel, welcomed him to be able to talk through some debt management options that are provided to the district. So in our January session, we had first read of a proposal or a defeasance tied to a couple of issues. We wanted to bring that back to you this evening, and we'll turn it over to Cindy to kind of hit the highlights before offering up a recommendation to the board.
So where we started with this in the budget process for this current year, we determined that we would have a surplus in our debt service account. And we initially contacted Joe Kinder to see what our options were to deal with that surplus. So after looking at our debt makeup, Stiefel recommended that we do a defeasance of all of our 2010 B bonds, and that will be $3,369,000, and prepay part of the maturity of the 2011 bonds in the amount of $2,460,000. These issues are callable March 1st, so by taking action tonight and providing the 30-day notice required to the holders, we will only pay principal and not accrue any additional interest on the defeasance amount. The total defeasance of both of those maturities would be $5.829 million. That would bring our total 2020 fiscal debt payments to $18 million. That would not affect the balance in our debt service to a detrimental level. It will only bring our balance down to $500,000 lower at the end of fiscal year 20 than it was at the beginning of fiscal year 20. That leaves us around $7.4 million in debt service, which allows us to pay our September payments with no problem until we get the tax money a year from now to pay the other March payment. So what this does for us by paying off these bonds is it relieves us of about $1.8 million interest payment over time, so it is saving the district that money. It also will allow us to have a balance in debt service that if our tax assessed valuation goes up significantly and the CPI prohibits us from recognizing all of that income in operating, we can move some of that money into debt service while keeping our levy the same. So it's good management of the funding opportunities that we have to pay off some debt, but keep the capability of increasing our bonding capacity by moving pennies into debt service levy. So that is why we are bringing the defeasance plan to you for approval tonight.
Any additional questions or discussion? Entertain a motion?
Zero downsides to this. True?
I don't know of any,
I can't think of one. This is kind of a no-brainer.
right?
All right.
Well, I move the board adopt the resolution authorizing the defeasance of certain outstanding general obligation bonds of Liberty Public School District number 53, Clay County, Missouri.
Second.
Discussion on the motion? Roll call, please.
AJ,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Angie,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes.
Kim Marie,
Yes.
Andy.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Brings us to our last item of unfinished business, 5.04 legislative priorities.
So we've been looking at this over the course of the last couple months in preparation for the legislative session, and appreciate everyone's input on this. A couple things that this involves is the letter to our area legislators highlighting some of our programming within the district. We've tried to do that over the course of the last couple of years and not always be in more of a reactionary, negative posture with our legislators, always inviting them to come and see the work taking place in all of our schools. The accompanying pieces include district priorities, which really are our areas of focus or vision in terms of what we aspire to. The second piece is really having to do more with legislative considerations and items that they could be doing to assist our district, but then also other districts across the state. So we've spent some time calling through that, updating it. You'll note also within the legislative considerations, an area that was added this year is in and around economic development incentives, in the paragraph that captures. Knowing that we not only deal with that at the local level in working with Kansas City as well as the City of Liberty as a region, that's an incredibly important conversation within the Kansas City metro area, but then also at the state area, some implications of decisions that are taking place within Jefferson City that impact our local school district. The other piece that we want to incorporate is to include our graduate profile and the work in and around our strategic plan to be able to elevate that, and that we believe that there are some unique pieces tied to that work that's been done over the course of the last several months that we're not seeing in a lot of districts. So really trying to press the envelope, but that supports a variety of proposals and pieces that we're seeing from our area legislators as well. So appreciate everyone's work with that. Upon your approval, we will turn around and send that to our legislators and hopefully open up doors of dialogue as we continue through this legislative session.
Questions? Ready for a motion then?
I move the board adopt the 2020 legislative priorities.
Okay. Discussion on the motion? Roll call, please.
AJ,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Angie,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes.
Kim Marie,
Yes.
Andy.
Yes.
Motion carries.
That wraps up unfinished business. We've got one item of new business that's for action.
We do. 6.01 has to do with a utility easement, so wanted to turn over to Mr. Anderson for an update.
Sure. This is a relatively minor kind of administrative issue that would typically be bundled up under consent, but because there was a rush to get this in place associated with the work at the PAC, we did go ahead and sign it under kind of emergency procedures a couple weeks ago. That allowed them to get the work and get the proper equipment ordered in the pipeline. And it's really just to provide power services to the new addition. So pretty straightforward. Of course, we reviewed the language internally. We had our engineers look at it, and everything is pretty standard. So appreciate your approval on that tonight.
Questions? If none, then we're ready for a motion. So it's not part of consent?
It was not part of consent.
But in the...
Because of the emergency nature of it.
Right.
It was brought out of
So there is a
consent.
separate motion that actually will
Thank you.
show.
I didn't know there was a motion.
It's the motion.
No. Yeah, we said that on the front end.
Got it.
I move the board approve the utility easement between Evergy and Liberty Public Schools at Liberty High School.
Second.
Discussion on the motion. Roll call, please.
AJ,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Angie,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes.
Kim Marie,
Yes.
Andy.
Yes.
Motion carries.
That concludes our new business. Move on to 7.01, list of upcoming meetings there. And I think that even prior to the next study session, there's the NSBA that
Equity.
a couple of people are going to in DC, right?
Mhm.
Kim Marie and AJ
Yes.
and some administrators. All right. Questions on any of those meeting dates?
Do we know the actual date for the legislative forum?
February 10th.
10th, thank you.
All right. Any board remarks?
I have a remark.
Remark away.
I'm going to remark. I'll keep it brief. So on consent agenda, we every month approve our exempt resignations. And this month in particular is one that always just hits my heart heavy because we see retirements. So I just wanted to recognize that even though they were included on consent, there's a lot of time and energy and wisdom leaving us. So and to extend my thanks to that heavy list of hitters that we approved.
Quite a few.
24.
It was a powerful list this year.
All right. I'm ready for a motion to adjourn if there's no further remarks.
I move the board adjourn.
Second.
Roll call, please.
AJ?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Angie?
Yes.
Nick?
Yes.
Kim Marie?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Motion carries.
We are adjourned.